I'm just going to say this again. I really think truly and sincerely from the bottom of my heart, we are all better than the worst choice we've ever made. In versus putting punishment at the forefront of our consciousness, it should be about understanding the why of behaviors and the why things had taken place. And I think it goes and coincides with what you said, my dear friend, that forgiveness, that opens the door for forgiveness to blossom and to be present in the situation.
We're punishing people that have already been punished and already suffered. You know, and I know that a good majority of the people in prison have suffered trauma, and it's unaddressed trauma. So then we put them in prison and we cause more trauma. And then we release them back on the streets with all this trauma built up. And we continue punishing people, and we're punishing them for suffering. We're not punishing them because they did good deeds. They suffered. They suffered because of poverty. They suffered in addictions, neglect, where they're living, where they've been raised. And then they do something that brings them into the criminal justice system, and we punish them and we don't help them heal. And
That's right.
so the suffering continues.
That's right. Two things come to my mind. One of them is, I saw this in a movie that we watched called Man Guise, Man Guise. And it said 1 in 5 boys have been sexually molested or abused. And being here in the prison and working with over 1,600 men, I can tell you that men have been through significant trauma when they were boys, many different ways. And it's amazing when people feel safe, what they will open up and share with you. That's the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing I wanted to say, adverse childhood experiences. In my 15 years of facilitating here at the prison, I do the ACE questionnaire. I've done it for the last probably 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And it's probably the last 4 or 5 years. So what I found, about 70%, 7 out of 10 of those questions, people have experienced 70% of those, the 10 major questions that they ask. So the median score I'm finding is about 7 out of 10. So that's the second thing I wanted to say. And then the third thing I wanted to say is, if you compared a human being to what we do with a car, and I know it's a weird comparison, but I want to make it anyway, because I think it's an important point, is if we took a car and we drove a car in to get fixed because the motor's bad, and they took the car, you go through that process, the intake as you go and, they look at the car, they look it over, and you pass your keys over. That's the person going into the prison system, right? So then they do diagnostics. That's the intake. That's essentially the staff members, the case management, the administration getting together saying, wow, this guy, his criminogenic needs, substance abuse, negative peers, antisocial behaviors, mental health, these things need to be addressed. That's the diagnostics. Then the car, you don't take the car and put it up on a lift and just let it sit there. Because if you let the car just sit there and you just let it sit in the shop that you brought it to for a period of 4 or 5 months, let's say even 5 to 10 or 20 years in terms of a human being, and then you just brought the car down off the lift and you sent the car back out to the streets, the problem is still there. The problem wasn't fixed. In fact, you have a broken car that gets sent back out on the streets, and what happens, it's going to come right back into the shop, hence the 77% recidivism rate we have. Therefore, a human being, you bring them in, you do the diagnostics, they say, yeah, this and this and this were issues. These are things that the human being has to work on. We we really stress those things that need to be done. So the car goes up on the lift and we look at the motor, we start making adjustments, we put the right parts in there. The human being is, they start working on themselves with the support of staff and administrations. They start doing that inner work and changing parts about themselves, their antisocial behaviors, which were taught at a very young age, their manipulation, which was taught. We're all accused of being manipulators, Valerie. But the
Yeah,
truth is,
definitely.
a lot of us had to manipulate to eat when we were kids. A lot of us had to manipulate to get love because we weren't loved by our families. Does that make sense?
Yes, and a lot of things that are addressed with the women aren't addressed with the men. And
That's
you
right.
brought up the whole thing about sexual abuse. That's one of the first things they question a woman about. And I believe it's one of the last things they ask the men about. And it may
That's
have
right.
a trust issue.
Mm-hmm.
It may be that, but those are things that I think that they haven't addressed a lot in the past. I wasn't aware how often that it happened with men and young boys until I started doing the work. And then when I saw how many, and no wonder there was such extreme trauma.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, so you take all that combined trauma, the car analogy again, you work on that car, you do everything you need to do to make that car safe, because you're not going to send that car out with a family and allow that family to drive the car when it's unsafe. And human beings, I can't believe we're not worth as much as a vehicle, because you send a vehicle into a shop, the vehicle gets the care, and you have mechanics, you have people with, these mechanics are wonderful people, they're beautiful, beautiful people, they learn to work on a vehicle so we're safe, so we can get to point A to point B. I wish correctional staff, care and custody workers, caseworkers, everybody involved with the system would start seeing us as people that can be healed, that made a bad choice,
Well,
and looked at us with as much care as these technicians that fix the cars do, because the 77% recidivism rate would be cut right down to about 20%, like Norway, or these states that are really, really emphasizing the need for programming.
so can you imagine if what is the average cost now? Is it 40,000 a year in Maine? They're saying, or is it
90,000
higher? 90,000 a person a year.
a
Okay.
year.
All right. So look at this. How about if we had all these trained professionals that are out here, which there's lots and lots of us out here with degrees in various different areas. Um, how about if the state took half that money and said, okay, we're going to start doing mentor foster care. So for the last 2 years of somebody's sentence, we're going to take them out, we're going to put them in a home environment, and we're going to give this family $45,000 to help this person get on their feet, get their driver's license, get a car, be able to get into their own apartment,
Oh
all
my
the
God.
things. Wouldn't
That's
that be a
incredible.
much better investment for our money?
That
And
is
it wouldn't
incredible.
be like a foster care situation because so many people that have the training would probably consider doing it, considering they've already worked with the population that would be coming into their home. They have the understanding that just because someone has been in the prison does not mean they're a threat to you.
That's right.
You know, that's one of the stigmas that really bothers me is this idea because someone's coming home, they're a threat to you. They're more often a threat to themselves because they haven't been able to take care of those levels of trauma and addictions and whatever else. If they would be able to heal that before they came home, it would make such a difference.
Such difference, such a difference. And it's possible. I mean, I I utilize myself as a case study, and I see some of these other guys in here as case studies. So guys that have gone above and beyond for programming, for let's just say 12-step programs, for every in any program that can change their consciousness and their well-being. They've changed their mindset, they've changed their inner workings, they've changed the way that they view the world and the way they see things. And really the challenge, what I've seen, is it takes a lot of intrinsic motivation to do that. Really, if there was a reward, meaning parole, if there was an opportunity for early release, you know how many other people would get on board? Many people are going to manipulate in the beginning, but eventually there's going to be a change that happens. And we've seen it, Valerie, recently with the laptops here. So when I started school, we hand wrote our papers. There was 6 of us in school because it was hard. There was no reward. It was, you get into school, it was hard. You had to do the work. It was a lot of work because we were handwriting papers or utilizing the old typewriter. Remember the old typewriter with a rail? I don't
Yeah.
even know if people remember those anymore. That's what we were using here. And what I've seen now that they've offered laptops and the ability for people to be on the internet, you have everybody in the prison signing up for college because they all want a chance to get online and watch a YouTube video. That's the carrot. Well, even if they're manipulating just to watch a YouTube video, or they think they can get email or whatever they're doing, that's cool. So I want to say something about that too. You have hundreds of people signing up for college now because there's a carrot. So imagine if you utilize that same carrot of early release, how many people would really change their lives, and how much safer Maine would be, and how much it would save the taxpayers. And the thing I wanted to say about computers, right? You say you can't trust us in prison, that we're all manipulating horrible drug-seeking convicts that are just going to screw over society. That's what the public perception, many of the public, that's their perception of us. However, I just want to say this. We've been doing this computer program for well over 2 or 3 years now. We've had no major problems. There's a few instances of people not doing what they're supposed to be doing, but it's watching a movie. They got in trouble for watching a movie or playing a game that they downloaded when they weren't supposed to. There's been no new crimes created. There's nothing significant that's really happened. That, so what does that say? That says that we can be trusted and we are better than the worst choice we've ever made. And if you give us the right opportunities, we will actually and positively utilize them to transform our lives.
Well, you made some really good points there about the idea is, if you tell somebody that they're never getting out of there, no matter what they do, doesn't matter what you do, you can become a monk. Doesn't matter. You're going to stay here the rest of your life. Why would that person even have the motivation to learn about themselves, to make that change, when they're already in the mindset of, I don't matter? So why bother?
That's
This
right.
is the one. This is the one thing I want to see restored, and I got to bring this up before I forget it. Something totally different. Flick Shop, is that what it's called?
Yes.
Okay, I just found out that they have a program on there that you can send a card to somebody anonymously, somebody who doesn't get any mail, or somebody who's in solitary confinement.
That's
What
right.
a fantastic thing for people in solitary that have nobody, to get that
Oh,
simple little postcard in the mail.
oh, it's so true. And
You
ladies,
know,
and what she's talking about is www.flikshop.com. You can actually get on there. You can register. They'll give you 2 free postcards, and you can send these postcards. So if you're out at the beach and you see something like behind me, that beautiful picture behind me, and you say, wow, I'd like to send that to Stephen. If you know the individual, the resident's ID and where they're housed and their address, you can actually send a photo there. But what she's saying is they have a program that you can randomly send photos to people that are in death row, people that are in segregation. And it's such a wonderful opportunity for people to feel loved.
Yeah. So, and those are just little things that people can do from the outside, because this is the other thing that I've been trying to address some myself to people that I know is like, we can all be doing something from out here. A simple little thing like sending someone a postcard once a month, even if you have to pay for it, it's going to cost you 40 cents, right? It's not going to break your bank. Those little acts of kindness, those give people hope. I can't imagine if I hadn't had any mail in 3 years and then all of a sudden I get this beautiful postcard from somebody who I don't know, no idea, but that someone took a moment in time to think of you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all, and back to the suffering thing, we all want to do as little suffering as possible in our life. Everybody. We're no different in that area. So wouldn't it be better if we all helped each other, you know, to take
Oh, so
on a
much
little
better.
bit of that so that we all reduce our suffering,
Hmm.
everybody's suffering, and that's the whole thing about that collectiveness. And we do this with the awakening, that collectiveness of that group consciousness, all of similar mind. That's an energy we're sending out to the world. I
Oh,
mean,
it's yeah.
and we're in that platform and you can feel it. We do the thing with the hands and sending
Mhm.
out the energy about the people that we might want to meet with. And 3 times out of 4, I've had that person in my group.
It's amazing.
So it makes me think it works. It may be coincidental, but I don't think so. I think that
No,
we sometimes forget about the greater forces that surround us and
that's right.
the love that we can have for each other. Um, we were total strangers not long ago,
No,
and you are now my brother.
that's right. You
You
know, my
know,
sister. That's right. It's amazing, Valerie. They say if you want to be happy for an hour, take a nap. If you want to be happy for a day, go fishing. If you want to be happy for a week, go on vacation. If you want to be happy for a month, get married. If you want to be happy for a year, win the lottery. But if you want to be happy for a lifetime, help somebody else out. And that's what the awakening is really about. It's about helping out the next person. It's about showing love. It's about creating a community. Now, people show up with all these weird expectations. I don't know what they think. They think they're going to transcend or levitate or something.
well,
But
we
that's
are
not,
that great.
we are that great. But that's not the case, ladies and gentlemen. The case is when you show up for the awakening, what happens is you do transcend and elevate and you do elevate yourself. You elevate yourself into a community, into a group of people that love and care about you, that want to see your nonprofit work succeed, that want to see your podcast succeed, that want to see you as a human being succeed. And we do it collaboratively. We don't silo our work. We remove those silos and we try to create a community of healing and support and love where we can all help each other. Pretty
well,
simple stuff.
yeah, and we see that with how we all share each other's work. Like just because I'm a podcaster doesn't mean, oh, well, I'm going to keep it all to myself. Of course not. Dr. Craig Waleed's out there doing podcasts. You're doing podcasts. Cardell Sims is doing podcasts, you know, and of course I'm going to promote them. I want them to be successful. And by being successful, they're going to teach others that can say, wait a minute, they've been there. They
That's right.
know. And look at what they're doing, man. I can do that too. And that's
That's
the
right.
message that I want to get into people. You can do it. Put your mind to doing it and you can do it. Stephen, you're a prime example. Where were you 10 years ago? You know, were you doing college and were you doing the awakening? And look at all the accomplishments that you've made, and not for yourself. I mean, the
Mm.
education, yes, is for yourself, but what you're doing is affecting so many other people. I mean, inside and out. I mean, what you've created out here for those of us that are trying to do the work is just remarkable. I haven't seen any, I've seen other groups similar that touch here and there, but nobody that has done what you've done. And I just can't wait to see where this is going to go, because we have such great members that join every meeting and have so much to bring to the table,
Oh,
with experience and their stories, sharing their own personal. That I think that's what I get the most of is people let down their guard and share their personal stories to help others. And even
mm.
though it may be painful to share those stories, they still realize that they can be of such use to someone else in their life and their healing.
So beautifully said. So beautifully said. And I say that because I recently met a gentleman. He's from Maryland, and he was released from prison a couple of years ago. He had spent, I think, 18 to 20 years in the federal prison system, and he fell into the awakening. He was referred to the awakening through somebody, I think, on LinkedIn, and showed up to the meeting. And he said, I'm absolutely and positively stunned and floored. In my 2 years out, I've looked for a community and I couldn't find a community. And I finally found my home, which really meant a lot for me. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, why wouldn't we want to promote each other and lift each other up? Why would we want to be selfish and only care about ourselves? When we do that, I think that's when we feel. That's what is key about the awakening. That's what I'm trying to get into the consciousness of some of the guys here in the prison and into everybody that we come in contact with. And I think a lot of people are scared of that. I think a lot of people, I'm being serious when I say this now.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people are scared about the collective working together, because it's not that they're selfish or they don't want to do that. It's just they don't know how, because it's never been created before. So when you say, I have a podcast, but I want to uplift Cardell, yours, and the rest of the people in our organization, that's because you have a big heart. And who the heck wouldn't want to uplift other people? It's like these folks that learn about the grants and they don't share the grants with other people because they think that that's their little gold mine or their honey hole, when in reality is you're doing yourself a disservice by keeping that to yourself, because the universe is always working in your favor. If you're supposed to get something or you're supposed to have something, it's going to happen. You have to believe that. It's always working in your favor. But when we go above and beyond, when we share that with other people, when we share that love, we share that support with other people, the universe opens up doors for us that never would have been open before. And that's the awakening. It's transforming from the inside out, Valerie. It's
Well,
transforming from the inside out and spreading that loving kindness with all beings.
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, and that transformation, it's contagious.
There you, now you're
You
speaking
know,
my language. Now you're speaking my language,
I mean, it
girlfriend.
really is, because as at least to me, like I've seen all this group for what have we been getting together over a year now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we all started at a certain place, and I've seen each one of us taking those steps. They're slow, they're little steps, but each one of us is moving forward. And I think part of that is because we are doing it together. You know, we have this circle that we're all uplifting each other.
That's right.
You know, we get enough negativity out here in the world of people who say, well, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can. You
Yes, you
know, that's the
can.
thing. You know, The first thing we need to try to do is eliminate that can't word,
Oh,
you
thank
know.
you. Thank you.
I mean, because I've been there. I mean, I went back to college at 47 years old. I didn't finish high school. I was a high school dropout. I didn't finish 10th grade. Went back to night school. Let me tell you, my first 2 years of college were so hard.
Mhm.
And people would say, well, how do you do it? I says, I just do it for that day,
That's
just
right.
that day.
That's right.
And when that day is done, put a big check mark down there and say, there, look at that, did it. You know, that's the other thing. We need to, um, every accomplishment you make, give yourself a pat on the back. Every new habit you create, give yourself a pat on the back. You know, we don't lift ourselves up enough. We need to start loving ourselves and caring about ourselves and realizing that we're an important player in the part of life. We're
Oh,
all
it's
here
such
for
a,
a reason,
we're such
you
an
know.
important, we are such an important player. And I love that. It's somebody asked one time, they said, um, think of the five people that you love the most. Close your eyes and think of five people. Maybe we could all do this exercise. Close your eyes and think of five people that you love the most. And I close my eyes and I do the exercise today. I still have a trouble with it. And I opened my eyes and they said, who are those people? And I named them off and they said, where are you? And I said, what do you mean? They said,
Ah,
how come you didn't name yourself? If you don't love yourself, how can you even love anybody else? If you're not one of those top five people that you love. So it goes back to a poem that I learned in the fifth grade, and this is hilarious. And I do this at groups here at the prison, and guys read it and they say it and they all giggle after. So just repeat after me. You ready?
okay.
I love myself.
I love myself.
I think I'm grand.
I think I'm grand.
I go to the movies
I go to the movies
and I hold my hand.
and I hold my hand.
I wrap my arms
I wrap my arms
around my waist.
around my waist.
And when I'm naughty,
And when I'm naughty,
I slap my face.
I slap my face. That's really cute.
Thank you. So I
I'm
learned
gonna
that
have to have you write that.
I learned that in the fifth. I learned that in the fifth grade. I teach that to guys here today. We do groups like the Four Agreements, and we do little groups like the Summit, just the spiritual journey of everybody's practice or everybody's belief is welcome. Nobody's left out. We want to include everybody, and that's the awakening. We want so anybody that's listening to this call, and I hope everybody listens to this, and I hope if you listen to this, you share it with a friend so other people get a little glimpse of what the awakening is that's what it is. We start by loving ourselves, but we can love each other as a community of people that are trying to help heal this system. No, we don't want to fight. If you want to fight the system, you go do that. I support you. I love you. But what we're trying to do is create a new system. And what we're trying to do is to create a new collective consciousness of what's possible. And that collective consciousness is sincerely just by us working together and by us loving each other and promoting each other and uplifting each other and really caring about each other and caring about those that we're working with and caring about ourselves, we can collectively create a new system that's inclusive of everyone, as long as you're doing the next right thing. And we believe proper conduct fears no exposure. So if you're doing something you don't want somebody else to know that you're doing, you're not doing the right thing. But I feel like we are all uplifting. Valerie, I love when you said that's like, why wouldn't I want to promote the next person that's doing what I'm doing? I don't believe I'm the only end all be all out there. I think we are all doing this together, but I think we have a spot now. You're welcome to come on to Sutra with us and share your information. Get onto the forum, right? Promote yourself on there and we'll promote you. If you're doing the right thing, stay with us. Let's grow together. And Valerie, like, I love what you said. Think of us when we first started meeting 16, 17 months ago. And I remember you saying, this is no baloney malarkey either. I remember you saying, Stephen, I'm building a podcast and it's gonna be the greatest podcast, one of the greatest podcasts for prison. I said, I believe it. And now you're number 3 in prison podcasting. You have been getting more and more traction with organizations out there to put your work out there. You're getting more and more people across the world that are really in this space. You've opened doors for people. And it's so amazing just to see that within you and to see your growth in these past 17 months. I applaud you and I really celebrate you and your success, my dear friend.
Well, thank you, Stephen. And as you know, this work, I never thought it would ever bring me to working with the men on death row. I want to address that just for a moment because when I first got my first letter, I took a long time before I responded back to them. And then when I got the first phone call, I had this knot in my stomach like, what am I doing? What in the world am I doing? And then one of the guys right off said, you need to read our stories. You need to know why we're here because you won't be able to understand the full picture if you don't. And as I was reading them, I'm like, I don't want to read these. Some of these stories are horrific stories. But that being said, when I read the stories and then I started listening to their stories, their words, their heart, they're putting their heart out there. Some of these guys that I have been recording, they know that there's a new governor coming into North Carolina next year. They know that. It is a very sad reality that executions could start up again in North Carolina. Now, let me tell you something. You know the relationship you and I have built over this year. I've also built those relationships with these men on death row.
Hmm.
These are people that I've come to know and people I've come to care for. That reality is just sickening to me. So, my whole thought about these guys have changed completely. My idea, it's like me with so many other people. I didn't look at the person. You think if somebody's on death row, that they're the worst person that could ever exist. Not the case at all. So far from that. And I'm listening to the stories and I'm learning about them. And then things change. It's not just about the stories. We laugh, we joke, we talk about the things that go on in life. And that whole division of where they are and where I am, it blends. They're just like me. They're just like you. They're just like our neighbors. They live, they breathe, they feel. Um, and I have more compassion for them every day that I get to know them because they have so little in their lives. And they have been so good to me with their words and their kindness. Let me tell you, they call me Miss Valerie. And what happened this past week here in Maine, I mean, everyone who watches the news knows we had a tragedy here with a mass shooting. I had 9 text messages the next day from facilities across this country, 5 of them from death row. Dear Miss Valerie, we're so sorry what happened in your state. We pray you're okay.
Hmm.
We pray for you. We pray. I'm losing my. Just lost my headphones. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you a lot better now.
Oh, weird. Um, you
Wow,
know,
I can hear you a lot better, a lot clearer. It's
oh,
amazing.
that's funny. So anyways, they were so kind and compassionate and caring, and they were getting together as a group and praying for the people here in Maine. Now,
Mhm.
what does that say about compassion and kindness from men that are considered the worst of the worst? Not what I see at all.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know,
It's
so,
always
so
it,
anyone who, the work I do with the men on death row is all done by volunteer donations. People have been great. It seems like I want to mention a thing about faith quickly. We have to have faith that the work that we're doing is important and it will be recognized. We have to be patient. We have to have the understanding that there are others who feel just like us, who want to make this change and start bringing home healed and healthy people. So, I don't know where I was going with that, but I think I'm done rambling.
no, it's all right. I think just a couple touch on a couple points is we're all better than the worst choice we've ever made. These guys on death row, some of them have done horrific, horrific things. And, you know, I can imagine for me, I still have a tendency to be judgmental and I don't have a right to judge anybody. I mean, I sat across from my victim's mother at a visit here when she held my hands and looked me in the eyes and she told me that she forgave me. Um, if she can do that for me, how can I hold judgment for anybody else? And I get it. For many people, it feels like, yeah, I was hurt, so I want to hurt back. That's a knee jerk reaction. But what if we looked at things a little bit differently? What if we looked at things like, well, that person hurt me because they were hurting themselves, and
Exactly.
we look for ways for reparation to take place without harming anybody back. For example, let me out of prison, give me an opportunity to help my victim's mom from the outside, give me a true opportunity to be a support for her in the ways that her son would have been a support for her. And just like so many other people that we drop the hammer on them and say that they're unredeemable or they're worthless or all these things when essentially they're not. I think we all get caught up in things sometimes in our lives, and it's some stuff a little bit more um, intense than other things for sure. Absolutely. Do some people deserve to be in prison? I think so. But I think incarceration needs to be intentional, where we actually come in like we're talking about with a car, and it's intentional where we come in and we have that opportunity to change our motor or change what's going on inside of us that cause those behavior. And Valerie, your work is so amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard her say that she operates on donations, and on her LinkedIn page, you can go, there's opportunities to donate. If you go to gofundme.com and you go to prison podcast, there is a page where you can donate. Valerie's been raising money for art supplies and for these men to be able to make phone calls, to be able to do these podcasts with her. So, what a great opportunity for us to give back to Valerie for her amazing, amazing work. Um, and just, I tip my hats to you for the work that you're doing because nobody else would be doing it. And you've chose to do something and get into an area that it's really, really dark. It's a place that there's not a lot of light shined into, and you've made a conscious choice to provide that love, and it's so needed, Valerie. So thank you.
Sometimes, Stephen, I think we don't really choose what our path is meant to be. Sometimes we close our eyes of where we're needed. And I've always felt that part of my journey in this life was to give back to others and to make a world a better place for those who come after me, you know. And I can see the difference in my own children and my grandchildren by my own personal development and my own spiritual development. And I can't imagine if they weren't afforded those opportunities, and so many aren't. So I'm really hoping that, we've only been doing this a short time. I can't imagine what another year is going to bring,
I mean, the awakening is, we're around the world, man. People know of us around the world. And
People know of us around the world. It's pretty cool, right?
it is, especially when you think we're, where we were all just a few years ago. We've come a long ways. And I really hope people are going to keep joining in. Like I tell people, just go to one meeting, you know, and I find it's addicting. I had to miss this last one. And I really felt I was missing something, like something really important. Like, I'm supposed to be there and I can't be.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to be back again in December and be able to be with everybody in the circle.
Yeah, everybody's so grateful to have you. We're all grateful to have you part of our organization. We're grateful to be able to, share your work with others whenever we can. We're grateful to be able to uplift you whenever we can. And we just feel fortunate that once again, that we're all working together. And I think that's the ingredient that we have that a lot of other folks wish that they had. And I think when we keep doing this work and we keep giving away everything that we have, I learned this, and I want to honor a couple folks here too. I want to just say thank you to my dear friend and my mentor John Berghoff for everything that he's given to us as an organization, the love, the support, the training to be where we're at. I want to say thank you to Lorenz from Sutra and his beautiful, beautiful wife, Natasha. Their kindness, allowing us to be on their platform and have a space on their platform. It is really revolutionizing what is possible, the resources, the connections that we can make on Sutra. And I want to also thank my dear friend, my coach Yolanda, and my dear friend Dr. Bruce Lipton. And Dr. Bruce Lipton, what a big part of changing my life and changing my belief system. If it wasn't for Bruce Lipton, I might be in forensic psychology right now and labeling people. um, so I just find, like you just said, I think the universe is always working in our favor if we go with it. I think we're all burning off old karma. And once that old karma burns off, or maybe it's always burning off, I think if we allow it and we stop fighting it, like the waves behind me, I don't know if those are big waves. Actually, there's one back there. I see it. You can't fight the waves for long because they're going to eventually beat you up, right? They're going to beat the crap out of you. We can't fight the waves, but we can learn how to surf. And I think when we learn how to surf and we learn how to get into the flow of life and the love for each other and the kindness for each other, I think we're going to go so much further. And it's just a gift. It really is, Val. Thank you.
Was it Bruce Lee who said, be like water?
That's right. Be like water. You can't, that's the thing about water, right? I learned this with Dr. Wayne Dyer. You can grab water, you try to grab it. And what happens when you grab it? It eventually just comes out of your hands. Or water, you think what's tougher, water or a rock? And water, because eventually water is going to shape the rock, right? Eventually the water is going to shape the rock. And there's something so beautiful about water because it flows and flows, and where it goes, no one knows. It's an ongoing flow, and it's just like life. And you think of what water is, right? It sets in our teacup, we drink it, we release it, it evaporates, it goes up into the sky and into the clouds. Eventually, it rains back down again. And I love water, and I love the analogy of water. I think it's the 88 verse of the Tao Te Ching. It says, the sea is the king of 1,000 streams and 1,000 rivers. And everybody's like, the sea's the king. Yeah, the sea is the king because it sets below them. Humility, the sea setting below the rivers and the streams where they all empty into. The sea setting below those things is what gives it its power because of its humility. And its humility is its greatness. And I think that's what we have the potentiality of doing. We have the potentiality of allowing everything to run into us. And then we just give it back out. We give it back out at no expense, no price. We give it out for free. If people can afford our trainings and what we're putting out there, which they can because nothing is over astronomically priced, all we're doing is we're creating a cycle. We're creating that beautiful life cycle. And when you get on board, like we've got on board with each other, all we're doing is helping and supporting with that cycle. So
It's funny, many years ago on my refrigerator, I had a thing that it actually came from a group called Northeast Metaphysical that was in Cornish, Maine. There was a guy, Ernie Rose, that had it. And he gave us this piece of paper and it said the universal wheel of life. And it had a circle with a big arrow that went all the way around. And it said, give, 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 give. And at the top, it was receive. Now, that's a prime example that if you keep giving, it's going to come back to you. What comes back to you, you give back, and then you receive more. Now, it's not always financial more, and that's what we have to remember. Our gifts in life are much more than the money end
that's
of it.
right.
And sometimes we have to stop looking at that dollar sign and we have to say, okay, we have to let go of that. And we need to look at the cause and we need to look at the reasons that we're doing the work. And if we keep giving of ourselves, we will be rewarded,
So
however
beautiful.
that would be. And it may be just through our friendships that we are making with each other.
That's right. I think it goes to what you want too. I think if people money's their intention, they're going to put that in their consciousness and they're going to find a way to make that happen for themselves. If friendship is the real intention, they're going to make the best friendships in the world. If success is, they'll find a way to get there. But it's how do you define success? Do you define it with money? Do you define it with friendships? Do you define it by the way that we help people? And it's so beautiful. It's like, I love that old African proverb. It's like, if you want to get somewhere fast, go by yourself, right? But if you want to get somewhere, what do they say? What's the other part of that, Valerie?
I don't know.
If you want to go somewhere fast, go by yourself. But if you want to get there safely, go with a team or go with a group. And that's the truth because a lot of people go by themselves, they get eaten by the lion.
By a lion.
That's the truth. So if we go together and we uplift each other on the path, we can ensure that we're going to get there safely. And that's why I like what we're doing. I think it has so much potentiality. Not everybody can see it, but the people that, what's cool and interesting, it's like the people that have seen it and the people that have stayed with it and have believed in it, they're all doing good.
I was just going to say that it's almost like a good luck job.
Yeah.
You know why? It's because we're all working for a good cause.
Yeah, I think so.
If you keep giving that good out there, it comes back. It does. I mean, we're being showered with it.
We're being showered with it. Yeah, that's a really cool way to I like good luck charm, but I think it's I think the universe has got our back on this one. I
Yeah,
really
so
do.
we just
I think
have to
the
be
universe.
patient.
Well, patience is a virtue, and holy cow, I'm learning it. They call that the Tay, right?
Yeah,
The TE. Remember the Tay of Piglet?
yeah.
The Dao Wu and the Tay of Piglet. The Tay is the virtue, the small virtuous one. I want to be the small virtuous one here.
Mm.
Just sending you all the love in the world and thank you for all you do. Any closing words from you?
I'd just like to thank everybody that's been supporting the work that I've been doing. I put out an ask for some help this past last couple of weeks to cover my calls for a Christmas special I'm doing with the guys in death row, and I met my goals. So thank you so much for those of you who have dug down deep and made those donations.
Oh, what a beautiful, beautiful, kind soul. Thank you, Valerie, for all your hard work, for your heart, for your kindness. And ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here today. If you haven't joined the awakening or come in for one of our meetings, please do so. If you're out there doing this work and you think you can do it all alone, I wish you the very best. If you want to do it and you want to get there safely and you want to do it together, you want to go there fast, do it by yourself. If you want to do it and you want to do it with purpose and you want to get there safe, please join us, join in what we're doing. We love to support you. We'd love to have you part of what we're building. We would love your support in some of the things that we're building. I know Valerie would love your support, and just sending you all the love in the world. And with that, we'll end with that song and just sending everybody all the love in the world. Thank you very much, Valerie. Much love to you, soul sister.
Good to see ya.